Welcome to the Authentic Leaders Rising podcast, where high achieving entrepreneurs and leaders come to receive deep, insightful conversations and practical guidance to move from hustle to flow without sacrificing their authentic self and the results. I am your host and Chief Energy Officer, Tammy Cho, a former patient care leader turned international best-selling author, speaker, and face and body analysis expert. Get ready to lead your authenticity, lead your energy, and lead your impact. Hi, and welcome to the show this week. Today, we are going to dive into the word freedom, the energy of freedom. Because a lot of my clients, when I work with them, one of the reasons why they had moved on, transitioned from some sort of corporate role is that they were searching for freedom. They were searching to give themselves a different life where they get to fully express and be who they are and really live by their own values that feel alignment within them. And so they were seeking a life of freedom, flexibility, and all these things. And yet they often transition to entrepreneurship and they've created a certain amount of success. However, there is a piece that feels elusive in some way, this feeling of freedom. And they end up doing all the things you do as entrepreneur to sustain your business and things like that. And they realize that they don't necessarily feel that free. They don't feel like they have that time freedom and the flexibility with all the things they need to do to run a business. And I wanted to shed a different point of view on this, because oftentimes we think that if I achieve this and create this much income and success, have this many clients or whatever that is, size of team, and there's a place within ourselves that we feel like we must do that. And then we'll be happy and we'll have the freedom and the time and the space to the degree they want, right? When in reality, if we think about it, even though we navigate through our business and we achieve that level of success we deem as good enough, right? Freedom is a state of being. It's not tangible, right? It's not something we touch. It's actually a state of being within our senses, within our body, right? And I speak about this because I've actually worked with a few clients in their 60s and 70s where they've worked all their life and they turn around and they realize that they don't feel any more free. They don't feel any more fulfilled with their life. And so I can tell you that freedom is a state of being, and it's not something that we arrive to at the end of it. And I think logically, a lot of us understand and know this. But I really want to speak to this because often we are not necessarily taking the pauses, doing the inner work to really create that inner freedom that is actually right here. It comes down to our state of being and how we're able to open to a higher threshold of emotional abundance. And often that is untapped potential energy in the emotional arena. And some of you might have heard me speak about this on different podcasts, is that when we only allow ourselves to feel into so much negative feelings, big T or small t trauma, actually also limits the amount of happiness and freedom and fulfillment we have access to. It's actually all right here. This is where we tend to move through life, not necessarily being in the energy or even knowing how to be in the energy of freedom. I've worked with a lot of clients that they feel they should be happy already. They feel like they have all the things. Why do I not feel fulfilled? Why I'm not experiencing this freedom, this space within myself? It still feels heavy in my body and things like that. It comes down to how our inner capacity to actually receive that. When we actually allow ourselves to tap into it now, it actually opens up ourselves to receive more of that. And so this is why I get a lot of my clients to really look deep into why is it that they want what they want? Because if you're searching for space with family, or you're searching to actually have a deeper connection with your family or the people around you, your clients, your team, right? Whatever you're searching for underneath the goal that you are striving for, that is what you need to allow yourself to tap into. And that is where we learn to assess within ourselves, or what exactly is the range we're looking at. And sometimes we're aware of that. Sometimes we know that when we give ourselves space, you feel this discomfort. You feel this unwillingness to go there, even though you have the space. A part of you feel antsy or restless. You're thinking about the next thing. Those are signs that your capacity to receive more positive things, there's a cap on that for you. And there's some of us that actually are able to go in and tap in, but you avoid the specific thing that you know you should be looking at. There's a layer of turning away, of hiding, of procrastinating, of perfectionism. However, that shows up for you. These are the thresholds we're working with. How often are you operating out of these places versus slowing down when you need to really connect with yourself and discover what is it that you actually need in the moment? What is going to serve you to create the freedom that you need in the moment? And so, this turning away that we consciously or unconsciously do is a really powerful thing, because that's exactly the threshold that you're working from. And so it's really important for you to tap into how you are turning away from your freedom, from your expansion in these moments of the day, in these moments of awareness, when you hit these levels of awareness. I know that oftentimes we need to take a pause and slow down. We already have the awareness, we have that knowingness. So oftentimes it comes down to actually how we're being with it. That's where we're often hitting against. And so be really curious. Some of the ways that we may turn away from ourselves is we're doing all the things right on our list, except for the thing that we know that we're avoiding. We know that's the thing we need to do to move the needle. And for some of us, it's I need to do all these things before I get to do that thing. And so do you find yourself having those moments where I need to do this in order to have that? Like sometimes when we are creating these rules for ourselves of listing all these things we ought to do before we should give ourselves the thing that we know we need to do, or the thing that you know that you need to give yourself. There's that energy of separation created with what you're actually able to let in, right? Or maybe it's like being consistently busy and you're just not letting yourself slow down to even listen to your intuition. You have access to your intuition, right? You have the awareness and all these things, but you're just keeping yourself busy enough not to be present to it. And it's really easy to justify that busyness with all these good things that we need to do anyway. So it feels we're doing things. And so it covers up that deeper knowingness within ourselves. And so these are just some of the ways that we are actually turning away from ourselves, turning away from a deeper freedom and the space that we're investing all our time to try to create in our lives. When we don't know ourselves and connect to the fact that underneath that goal, what you're actually looking for, going down the 5 to 10 layers deep. When you have that, what will you have? When you have that time, what would you have? And really going down deep into the different layers and get down to the layer of energy, of the state of being that you're actually looking to have and to create more of in your life. Because that's how we're keeping it real, when we know this is the energy we're looking for. Yet, when we give ourselves the space to tap into it in the moment of now, and we're unable to, or it feels like a struggle, that's something to address now, not later. Because it's like we're spending all this time trying to create the thing that we are not even letting in. Do you see how self-sabotage happens? by actually connecting to ourselves and deepening this intimacy within ourselves, this is where we're actually opening up to more of the energy and we're having it now. And we are allowing ourselves to feel in alignment now because in manifestation, it's around being in the energy of what we want now. Is this making sense? And so, really, I invite you to really be really introspective within yourself. And I'll tell you a story about how sneaky this can be. I invested in a weekend into personal development, into the inner work, to really dive into the deeper pieces within myself and to overcome some of the blocks I was feeling within myself. And it was a 3-day event. It's got to be like 4 years or 5 years now. But back then, we literally sat in a circle. We would go around the room and we would talk about what we weren't supporting and things like this. And there were tears falling and there were, deep exercises on working on the past and things like this. And I remember sitting there witnessing all this happening and I had a mask on. I had this, a part of me was hiding because I was like in my head judging like these facilitators. I was using my intuition against me because I could see that they're actually not as far as long as I was. There was this like thing going off in my head is that I wasn't going to let people in until I could sense that they could hold me. I was scared. And my mind was jumping in to protect me from actually opening up and turning towards where I needed to look at in this space. Because by that time, I had done a lot of work myself and ego was coming into effect. And I would be assessing. It's not like I'll completely block the facilitators out, but if they can't sense what's going on with me, can they actually help me? Right? All of these kind of things, our mind, the stories that we tell ourselves that keep other people out. And so, how this showed up for me is that as the days went on and as I was going through the exercises, I wasn't fully in. I was turning away from myself. And I was really engaged in helping people through their processes. I had a partner, I was helping him, supporting him with breakthroughs. They had someone who was training for the processes, and I was training her. And so I had a lot of knowledge within myself at that time. And I couldn't really justify in my mind to let go. I was like, I don't understand what these people are going to be able to help me with. They can't really see me. And you know what? If we don't allow ourselves to be seen, I wouldn't have had my breakthrough. If I didn't allow myself to be seen, I wouldn't have had my breakthrough. And so, literally, on the very last day, I sat there in my seat and I was saying to myself, wow, the weekend's ending. And it's like, how about me? That voice went off in my head. What about me? And I had to turn towards myself and I had to open up myself. And in that moment, as it was my turn, that's what I said that I've been sitting here all weekend and I'm saying, what about me? And I said out loud exactly what I just said to you guys and sharing with all the things that were going on in my mind. And as I was sharing all of this and sharing actually what I need, and it wasn't that I needed any more healing, I needed to be witnessed. I needed to be heard and seen. That was actually the healing for me. I came across with a very strong front. I was like very competent, high functioning on the outside. I didn't want to appear broken or anything like that. But in that moment, as I was expressing what I needed and allowing myself to sit there and receive it, my whole body was shaking. My whole body was so uncomfortable to receive and actually let this in within myself. Whole body was shaking, like I couldn't stop the shaking. And guess what happened when I allowed myself to be this vulnerable? everyone in the group, like 30, 40 people, gathered around me to hold space and support me. And this is something they asked everyone to do. If you resonate with something that someone was saying, move your body towards them to give them that external feedback that what they have to say was resonating. And by me allowing myself to turn into myself and open myself up to receive in this way, I pulled in the whole group of people who resonated with my vulnerability, what I was sharing about how I was holding back and how I was like having my mind run the show and how I was sorry. I had to forgive myself through those pieces. And so to share with you how strong the mind can be in keeping us turning away from our freedom. Because in that moment, when I allowed myself to receive and open up to the freedom within me to speak, my energy attracted everyone in. Up to that point, I was unconsciously, energetically blocking things out. And this is just a beautiful physical representation on what we're doing energetically when we are not turning towards ourselves and opening ourselves up to the world. The freedom that we want to feel within ourselves is not being let in. It's not being allowed to surface. And so if you're a high achieving entrepreneur or leader that have been on the journey a while and you feel like you're going through the motions and something still feels like it's missing, your mind's telling you that I don't need more self-love. I am already going to the gym, going to yoga, and doing all these things. These are some of the things that some of my clients say before working with me because we're letting the mind speak, not the heart. And so I just want to tell you, if you are in a space where you know that there is something in the way and you've been on this journey long enough to know that you are in the way, I truly encourage you to reach out, to just have a conversation. I hold a very compassionate space to allow yourself to be you. Perhaps it's a space that you need to actually be witnessed and held and to have the walls come down. This is the work I'm meant to do to really serve your heart and your purpose at the highest calling so you can be in your authentic leadership in this way. Because you are here for more. And I know you're here for more. And no one can do it like you. And if you're not ready for that, I invite you to use these 3 steps. Allow yourself to be brutally honest with what you're turning away from. Choose to just decide and choose to stop. Number 1. Right now, write down the thing you've been avoiding because your intuition has been telling you. What have you been turning away from? Number 2, if you're feeling that voice come up telling you the opposite thing, allow yourself to feel into that. Say that statement to myself. Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not turning away from myself. Or whatever that statement is that your mind tells you, say it and really emphasize it when you say it. And feel how it feels in your body. Truth feels light. Untruth feels heavy. So allow yourself to tune into that. And number 3, allow yourself to do the thing. Allow yourself to do the thing you've been turning away from. And allow it to speak to you. You might notice that, oh, that was easy. Or some of you might notice, wow, like this is really uncomfortable. Because when we allow ourselves to really see the truth in that, we know it's not that it's another thing to do. It's actually learning to lead our emotions. It's learning to speak to the body's wisdom and to be with that and to learn how to transform that energy to more of who you are. And so really allow yourself to step into these 3 steps. And if you're in a place and you do these steps and you realize that, yeah, this is a place where I need someone to support me, I'm here. You can reach out to me in the show notes on the different social media platforms. I just want to bring you to the truth. One of my missions is to really bring people back to the truth of who they are. And it's these places that we turn away from that is holding back to being more of who we're meant to be. And when you stop hiding or turning away from yourself, you gift yourself with freedom, with the breadcrumbs of freedom that will open up to more and more that is you. Lots of love. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the Authentic Leaders Rising podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. And leave us a review so others can find the life-changing content that we're sharing here. We are starting our movement on our way to number 1, and we need your help to get there. If you'd like to connect with other high-achieving entrepreneurs and leaders who are also on their authentic, energetic leadership journey, join our free Facebook community, Energetically Aligned Leaders. Go to pathtotheheart.com/links to join the Facebook group, book your personalized face analysis experience, or to access our resources.